Alright, so we are moving right along in our Ansible series, and in this video we're going to actually install Ansible and use it to run some commands against our servers. This is where it all begins. This is where we actually get some hands-on with Ansible itself. Enough with all the foundational concepts, let's actually dive into installing Ansible and running commands. Alright, so here we are on my laptop. I'm going to show you some Ansible commands. We're not actually going to be writing playbooks in this video, we'll get to that. But we do need to get Ansible installed, and we do need to understand how it interacts with our servers. Now, there are multiple ways of installing Ansible. You can actually install a repository from Ansible itself to get the latest and greatest. You can even use pip with Python to install it. But for now, we're going to go ahead and just use the version of Ansible that comes with the Ubuntu repositories. So to install Ansible, it's pretty easy. We do sudo apt update to make sure that our index is up to date. I'll put in my super secret password here. And that's done. We'll ignore the fact that I haven't done my updates yet. So now that the index is up to date, we can run sudo apt install Ansible, press enter. And it's going to install quite a few dependencies here, but that's okay. I'll just press enter to accept that. And it's not that big of a package, so it should install fairly quickly. So now we have Ansible installed, and to use it more effectively, we need an inventory file. So let's go ahead and create that. Now, if I list my storage, I still have the Ansible tutorial Git repository here, and you should have one too. Whatever you decided to call yours, you should have a directory for that. So we'll go into that directory. And right now, we only have the README file. So what I'm going to do is create the inventory file, which is going to contain the IP addresses for each of the hosts that we want to manage with Ansible. So I'll just do nano and then inventory. This file won't exist because we only have the README file. Now we have this empty file. So what can we do to actually create an inventory? Well, actually, all we need to do is type the IP addresses of the servers that we want to manage here. So I'll go ahead and type those in. And those are mine. Now, if you have DNS names for your servers, so if you've registered a domain name, or you have a DNS server where it's able to recognize the host names, you can actually type the host names of the servers as well instead of the IP addresses. Now, DHCP IP addresses, as you probably know, they can change, so you want to be careful with this. But for the purposes of this introduction to Ansible, I think IP addresses are fine. Again, if you have fully qualified domain names or any kind of DNS names that is recognized on your network, you can go ahead and use those instead. But anyway, I'll do Control-O, then Enter to save the file, and then Control-X to exit out. So now we have that inventory file, as you can see right here. But if I do Git status, we can see that on tracked files, we have inventory. So this file, inventory right here, the one we just created, is not in version control. It's not understood by Git. This is a foreign object. That's essentially what that means. So what we want to do is go ahead and git add and then that file. We want to add that file to version control. I'll press enter. And now we'll see how git status changes. So it says changes to be committed. And it shows inventory as a new file. So now this file is going to be added to version control, and it's going to be added to the next commit. As I mentioned in the previous video, a commit is basically like bundling all of your changes into a bucket to send up to the server. In our case, GitHub is the Git server we're using. And now that we've added it, we need to commit it. So we could do this, git commit -m, first version of the inventory file, added 3 hosts. And it really doesn't matter what your message says. We just need to summarize the changes that we've made here so far. I'll press enter. And then we can go ahead and push those changes up to GitHub. And that's the command that'll do that, git push origin master. And if I go back to the browser, we have the Ansible tutorial repository right here. I'll go ahead and refresh it. And now we have the inventory file that we just pushed up to GitHub. I click on that. We have the 3 IP addresses here of the servers, which will of course be different on your end, but these are the IP addresses for my servers that I've created in VirtualBox. But you get the idea. We were able to create an inventory file, and inside there we just added the IP addresses of those hosts. Couldn't get any simpler than that. So now let's go ahead and actually run an Ansible command to make sure that everything is working. So we're going to run this command right here. I'll go ahead and type it out. Ansible all -- file. And then I'm typing the path to the SSH directory. If you didn't already know, the tilde right here is short for the home directory, or the home directory of the user I'm logged in as. And we named the key Ansible -i. And we need to give it the file name of an inventory file, which I simply named inventory, which is in the current working directory. Again, I'm inside the actual directory for the repository that we cloned locally. -m for module, and the module I want to run is ping. Now you might think that this is simply going to ping all of the hosts inside the inventory. Not exactly. It's actually going to make a connection to each of the hosts inside the inventory. So it's a little bit more than just a ping. But what this is going to do is allow us to make sure that everything is working. I'll press enter. And we have 3 successes. So what this means is that Ansible was able to connect to each of the servers and establish a connection. That's exactly what it did. So according to this, everything is going very well because we were able to make a connection to each of the 3 servers. So to explain this command a little bit more, we're going to run Ansible against all. We're going to give it the key file that we want Ansible to use. -i, we need to give it an inventory file. I named the inventory file, well, inventory. -m allows you to run a module. There's all kinds of modules out there. And the one I chose to do first is ping, which again is not a simple ping test. If you're familiar with like the ICMP ping, this is not that. It's actually connecting via SSH. It's actually making a real connection. And it was able to do that. So we are able to communicate to those 3 servers via Ansible. This video is sponsored by KernelCare and Cloud Linux. I'll get back to the video in just a moment, but before I do, I wanted to let you guys know about a really awesome service they are making available to users of CentOS 6. If you didn't already know, CentOS 6 will reach end of life this November of 2020, and when that happens, you will no longer receive security updates, and that's a big problem. If you continue to use CentOS 6 beyond that date, your servers will be increasingly more vulnerable to newly discovered security vulnerabilities, so it's definitely recommended that you update to a newer and supported version of CentOS if you can. It's definitely challenging for an organization to migrate to a newer version of CentOS, but at the same time, they can't live without ongoing support either. Now, you can make this problem disappear. CentOS 6 Extended Lifecycle Support from Cloud Linux allows you to continue to use CentOS 6 beyond the end-of-life date and actually remain secure and patched because you will continue to receive patches and security updates as you would normally, but this time from Cloud Linux repositories because they are going to keep this going for you with their new service. For a limited time, you can get a specially discounted bundle. KernelCare live patching and extended lifecycle support for CentOS 6 together with a 30% discount on CentOS 6 extended lifecycle support and a 15% discount on KernelCare. And as for KernelCare, it's a live patching system that automatically applies security patches to Linux kernels and shared libraries with no reboots. It's used on over 500,000 servers and has been used to patch servers running for over 6 years for such companies as Dell, Zoom, Liquid Web, and other enterprises. It works with all the major Linux distributions and interoperates flawlessly with common vulnerability scanners, configuration management tools, and patch management solutions as well. Check out the URL that is on the screen right now or give the link a click that's in the description below this video to learn more and get your quote. Now let's get back to the video. But I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit lazy, I guess, because, well, I guess that's why we're automating things in the first place, right? Because we're lazy admins and we don't want to do 100 different steps. We want to basically automate everything. And actually, that's not being lazy, that's being effective, especially if you have 500 servers. We want to basically automate as much as we can, but I don't want to type so many things when I go ahead and run an Ansible command. Let's go ahead and shorten that command down a little bit so we can make this a little bit easier to use. So what we're going to do is create an Ansible config file. So we'll do nano, and again, make sure you are inside the repository directory. And we're going to create ansible.cfg just like that. I'll press enter. And we have another empty file here. Now this Ansible config file is read by Ansible whenever you run it. So what we want to do is set some defaults. So the stanza I have here in square brackets is defaults. I'll press enter to go to the next line. And we'll do inventory space equals space. And then the name of the inventory file we want to use, which is simply inventory. On the next line, we're going to add private key file space equals space. Then basically the tilde, again, that's shorthand for home, /.ssh, and then Ansible just like that. So we're basically setting some defaults here. So I'm going to save the file, Control O, and then enter, and then Control X. And we have that file here. Now, if we look at the Etsy directory, we also have an Ansible directory inside there as well. And we also have an ansible.cfg file. We're going to ignore that. We created one local, and that's going to override the one that's in Etsy. That's in our local working directory here, ansible.cfg. Same name, but this one is going to take priority. Now let's see if we can shorten that previous command a bit. Again, it was this one right here. That's kind of on the long side. So let's see if we can actually shorten this down. I'm going to remove actually most of this. And I'm going to shorten it basically down to that, Ansible all-m ping. I'm not even telling it which key to use or which inventory file to use because we put that in the config file. So it actually should look in the config file to find the key and the inventory file path. And there we go. We did the same thing and we were able to shorten that down quite a bit. Again, down here at the bottom, we see the original command, and at the top, the new version, Ansible all-m ping. The reason that works is because we declared the path to the key file here, and also the file name of the inventory file as well. So we don't actually have to type those things out anymore because the Ansible config file contains those items, so we should be all set. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys another command. So Ansible all, then --list-hosts, and then enter. And it's basically going to show you a list of your hosts. Now, it's not that useful, but it could be useful, just something to keep in your toolbox here. It's going to give you a list of all your hosts, and it shows that I have 3. It shows the 3 IP addresses, so that could be useful. But perhaps more useful than that is this one. So we're doing Ansible all. We want to run it on everything. The module that we want to run is gather_facts, and then enter. Now, there's going to be quite a bit of output here, isn't there? Look at all this. It just keeps going and going and going and going. When Ansible connects to a server, it's basically pulling a list of information about that server, including the processor that it has, the operating system that it's running, all of your environment variables, and all kinds of things here. You can see that there's quite a bit of information, and it did that for each of the 3 servers. And another thing that we can do, since that was, very long, is we can limit it down to a single host. And this is good to know, the -- limit. That's useful if you want to run Ansible but target just one of your hosts. You can use -- limit for that. Then I'll give it an IP address. And then enter. It's going to do basically the same thing as last time, but only against the particular server that I identified with that command with the limit. And again, there's a lot of information here. So you might be wondering, why the heck would I ever want to do this? Well, first of all, you could want to grab some information specific to the host. And you can see that pretty much everything you could want to know about that server, Ansible is pulling that information down. But you might also use it for troubleshooting as well, because if something is failing, like for example, if you are targeting a specific processor or a specific distribution, you can basically compare how you have variables set up in your playbook against how the variable is shown on the server. That's getting way ahead of ourselves, but I think that it is something that could be useful if you want to pull information about your servers. So go ahead and give it a try. So now you know how to run commands against your servers with Ansible, and we want to make sure that we are fully synchronized with GitHub here. So let's run git status and see what has changed since we started working, or since the last commit. And as you could probably guess, the ansible.cfg file, that's a new file. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. Let's go ahead and run status, git status. There it is. It's going to add ansible.cfg to version control. Then we can run git commit -m first version of ansible.cfg, or whatever you want to say for your commit message. It doesn't really matter. I won't judge you. Enter, and git push origin master, just like that. So now everything should be synchronized with GitHub. Let's go ahead and check that. Here we are again with our repository. I'll click here to go back to the root of the repository. And sure enough, we have the Ansible config file, and it even has color syntax right here, which is pretty cool. So now you can get a feel for basically using Ansible with version control. And now you are even able to use Ansible to execute commands against your actual servers. So we're actually quite a bit productive already, and this is only the 4th video. So there you go. At this point, we are able to run ad hoc commands against our servers. We can run one command and have it executed on each. That is pretty cool. Now, to be fair, we are not automating anything yet, and we haven't used Ansible to actually make changes to our servers. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that in the next video. And then in the video after that, we're going to take a look at creating our own playbooks, which will actually be our beginning step into the world of automation, which is where the magic really happens. So I'm hoping you're loving Ansible so far, and I hope that you are loving this series as well. And if you do, please click that like button, because that lets YouTube know that you want to see more content just like this. And go ahead and check out the next video in this series, because that is already up on my channel. And if you haven't already done so, definitely subscribe to be the first to see alerts for new content as soon as it comes out on my channel. Thanks so much for checking this out, and I'll see you in the next video.